say a few words because I think today is about you. So, come.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and good afternoon. Look, I have a lot of people to thank for this event, but first and foremost, I have to thank my father, Khwaja Haris Ahmed. He is my rock, he is my support. You know, as an artist, you have a lot of extreme ups and downs. And he's my anchor. He's always been there for me. If I get too high, he brings me back to normal. If I get too low, he picks me up. So thank you very much, Abu. Next, I would like to thank all the panelists. Thank you so much for coming. Especially Haris Saab. He came, as you know, all the way from Islamabad this morning. I really appreciate your coming and for reading the novel and for saying all those kind words. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the guests. Thank you all for coming today. Especially Aurangzeb Uncle, thank you so much for taking out the time. My new friend, Mr. Shabazz Atif is also here. Thank you so much. I would also like to especially call out Mr. Vyas Khan. He came here, he actually was a big help for the book because he's a compendium of knowledge when it comes to Sufism, and he helped me a lot when it came to writing about Sufism. And there's a torture scene in the book. He also helped me write about that, which I don't, maybe he doesn't appreciate my telling you, but he did, it's a fact. So thank you so much for coming. Yeah, thank you all. Dr. Suhail Zafar and his family, Dr. Annie Sohail and Rabia Sohail, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate all of you being here today. Maestro Maksuma Bukhari, everybody. I just want to read a couple of brief extracts from the novel. The purpose is that after this you will feel like buying the book, which is on sale over there. But before I do that, I just want to answer a couple of questions that the panelists put to me. Dr. Amra Raza was asking if there's any autobiographical elements in the novel. I just want to clarify that any resemblance to real characters is purely coincidental. There's no autobiographical elements in the novel, but on a serious note, I think maybe every character that you write, you can't help but put a little bit of yourself in it, even unconsciously, without really even trying or thinking about it. I don't think we'll have time for question and answers with the panel. Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and read a couple of excerpts to give you an idea of what the book is about. So this is the first one. Basim remembered playing cricket with Furqan one summer afternoon. Just he and his servant. He bowling, Furqan batting. He wearing a sleek, round-necked, half-sleeved Reebok t-shirt, Nike shorts, and running shoes. Furqan his usual shalwar kameez with worn-out sandals. He running in, taped ball in hand, wind whipping his hair. Furqan watching the ball closely, a faint smile on his lips. He aiming for a yorker and letting the ball go, knowing he gotten it wrong as soon as he released it. Furqan's eyes lighting up at the sight of the half volley headed his way, arching the bat high over his shoulder and swinging it down, not too hard, but just hard enough to time the ball and sending it sailing away through the air. Basim winced at the sight. Furqan smiled. Basim whipped his head over his shoulder to see where the ball was going. Furqan follows the ball with his eyes too. His smile slowly turned into a frown, Qasim's wince into a sheepish grin. Furqan had timed the ball too well. Instead of going for six, it had gone into the neighbor's house. That was out. Such were the rules. Would have been six in a ground, remarked Furqan, as the two of them, sweating, rushed towards the house and retrieved the ball. Qasim considered. It was true. The rules were stacked in his favor and against Furqan. Here he was, Qasim, using the best of what Lahore had to offer in terms of gear and equipment, and there was Furqan, who, as far as Qasim knew, owned nothing except those worn-out sandals and shalwar kameez more like the one he was wearing. And yet, he just hit what would have been a huge six, only to be thwarted by the rules. Qasim considered the unfairness of it all. Furqan's entire life was a massive hit for six, only to be given out. And Qasim's was the exact opposite, a half volley that had gotten the wicket. Master and servant, thought Qasim grimly. Roles determined not by effort, but the lottery of birth. They walked shoulder to shoulder, yet the tightest embrace could not close the chasm that divided them. This is the last excerpt that I'm going to read, and then we can all have enjoy some tea and snacks. Qasim's flight left at dawn. He had decided earlier to stay up till then and sleep on the plane. But now, feeling more tired than anticipated, he changed his mind. He had Furqan and his driver Hanif take the suitcase down and put them in the car's trunk, so he wouldn't have to bother about them later. Then he lay down on his king-size bed one last time. A bed he had lain on now for 20-odd years, possibly the last time he ever would, and entered into the land of dreams, the land that comes unbidden and takes the dreamer without explanation through its mysterious pageantry. And that night, he dreamed a vision unlike he had ever dreamed before. He found himself holding a large golden chalice, filled to the brim with the world's sweetest, most transparent water. Two roads forked before him. One was lush and green. Groves of old, shade-giving trees, heavy with ripe fruit, lined it on one side, and a clear lake was on the other. Many varieties of fish darting merrily about within it. It resembled the Garden of Eden itself. It was multi-hued and clean. The people walking it were serene and happy. It was a road Qasim deeply desired. He took a few steps on it, but stopped suddenly, curious about what the other one was like. It was the first road's ugly twin. Barren desert surrounded it as far as Qasim could see. And unlike the first, only two species inhabited it, a host of venomous snakes and miserable, suffering humanity. Men, women, children, their clothes half torn, faces caked with dirt, eyes brimful with tears, palms turned heavenward in prayer, the sun beating mercilessly down on them, and their complaint, "O all-seeing one, do you not see us?" Seeing them stirred Qasim's heart. He looked at the water in his chalice. There was nowhere near enough to slake the thirst of all the people on the second road, but it didn't matter. He would share what little he had. No sooner had he decided this than a blinding light appeared before him, forcing his eyes shut and his hands to move before his face, protecting him from the dazzling luminance. As his eyes adjusted, he found the light's source. High in the sky, a magnificent winged horse, white in color, a kingly figure sitting atop. This figure, the rider, was the fount from which the light sprang. With a single stride and flap of his wings, the stately and majestic horse traversed the entire span between them and stood right before him. Qasim trembled in reverential awe as the horse stood still and the rider dismounted, a man unlike Qasim had ever seen. He was slightly taller than medium height, his build slender but muscular, hair falling in wavy curls to his shoulders, his beard full, a a tinge of ruddiness in his radiant complexion. His dress a simple brown shalwar and kameez, and a double crescent sword hanging in its sheath around his waist. There was no other way to describe the sword. It had the traditional greyish blade at the tip, but had two crescent-like blades on either side, one red and the other blue. The impression Wasim got of it was that the mouse screaming either in agony or fury. It was difficult to tell which. He stepped towards Wasim, and though he walked on an even plane, he appeared to be descending a hill. In front of Wasim he stopped, the two standing face to face, and looked at him bravely. The light emanating from his face only increased, like a rising sun. "Are you," began Wasim, voice quivering, and the man smiled. He was. Realizing who stood before him, Wasim gasped. He dropped to his knees. He would have prostrated had the man not held him by the shoulders and raised him up. Wasim stood there, not knowing what to do. Then, as if of their own accord, both his hands clasped the man's right hand, kissed it, touched it one by one with both his eyelids, and he said, "I entrust my vision to you." The man then put his forefinger into his mouth, wetting it with his saliva. He took it out and dipped it in Wasim's chalice. No sooner had he done this than the fragrance of musk arose from it. He smiled again, removed his finger, mounted the winged horse again, and they were gone as fast as they had come. So stark was the change in light at his departure that for a moment Wasim thought night had fallen, but it was still day. The barren desert road with its thirsting journeyers lay before him. He took a deep breath and started walking his chosen path. He had only gone a little distance when he came upon a child, her skin as black as night, moonless, starless night, lips pursed together. He fell in love for her many fathoms more profound than any love he had ever known. To look at her was to look at himself. Her thirst was his, and by quenching it, he satisfied his own. He knelt and offered her water from his chalice. She looked up at him, first in fear, then in suspicion, then by rapid degrees, surprise, hope, and then love, raising her lips to the chalice and drinking, the water reviving her before his eyes. His gesture attracted several thirsty curious, old and young, men and women, who started thronging around him in hope and expectation. He worried he didn't have enough water to satisfy all of them. The girl drank to her heart's content and handed the chalice back. Much to his amazement, the water was no less than it had been when he had given it to her. And so it started, the long task of sharing his water with the supplicants, giving them as much as their desire could hold, yet never losing a drop of what he possessed himself. The great enterprise of cultivating a garden out of barren soil had just begun. But then he saw a snake slither stealthily toward him. It was an Indian python, the fierce snake, its venom most lethal. Its scales were gilded gold, glittering brightly in the light that reflected off them. But only Parson the dreamer saw him, not Parson the dream, who was busy giving water to the queue that stretched before him. As the snake approached, he tried to warn himself of the danger, but the two, dreamer and dream, could not communicate. The snake got closer and closer, careful, crafty, with subtlety, until it was within striking distance. Then it arched back, its coil accompanied with a hostile hiss, a triumphant battle cry, and sank its fangs into Wasim's right leg. He woke up with a start, whether from the pain of the bite or his father and brother's fussing voices as they stood over him, urging him to hurry, he wasn't sure. He had overslept, and though desperate to write down his dream, he didn't have the time. He quickly collected the hand carry bag containing his passport, ticket, and carry-on luggage and left the house. He sat down in the passenger seat. Hanif was already inside. He had started the car and turned on the air conditioning for Wasim. "Let's go, sir," said Hanif, his hair naturally back, a consequence Wasim believed of cheap hair color. "Yes," Wasim replied, after one final farewell look at his own. That late night, he convinced himself that he would never forget this dream, never forget its slightest detail, that it was etched in his memory forever. But by the time they had reached the main road, He had forgotten it entirely. His mind had failed, but not his bones. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the first novel, but not the last one. Saad is currently working on several other projects, including a translation of five other projects, six or five other projects, including the translation of the autobiography of my late mother, book Kibazi Kibazi hai, and fantasy series and poetry, and you name it. So before he becomes very famous, I suggest you take your selfies with him, because after that, he might not know who you are, and yeah, he might start charging, and of course I'll take the commission. And so there's the books, if you want to buy, and please enjoy your high tea. Thank you so much for coming. It is always, I think I read it from, I think it's Oscar Wilde, who said that the decline of a nation can be seen from its interest in literature, and the rise of a nation can be seen by its love for literature. So if this is the representation of Pakistani community being in love with literature, I think with all our problems, we are certainly on the rise. On that very happy note, thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the panels, and obviously, please enjoy discount on the book, which you will not get at Sangevi Publications, and enjoy the tea. Thank you.